Hello, I'm doing a book review, and the book I want to review is Batman Bloodstorm. Now, Bloodstorm is a graphic novel written by Doug Moench and illustrated by Kelley Jones and published by DC Comics in 1994, and this is a sequel to Doug Moench and Kelley Jones's 1992 graphic novel Batman and Dracula Red Rain, which featured the character of Batman originally created by Bob Kane and Bill Finger going up against Count Dracula, the titular antagonist of the classic vampire novel by Bram Stoker. Now, I already reviewed Batman and Dracula Red Rain when I did these Batman reviews last year, and I'll leave a link in the description below too, where you can check out that review. Now, both this and Red Rain are Elseworlds stories. Elseworlds is something that DC Comics does sometimes, where there's stories that are specifically set outside of continuity. There's stories that are completely set within their own universes or timelines, and basically writers are given free rein to do whatever the hell they want with classic licensed characters. So, in Red Rain, Count Dracula comes to Gotham City and is feeding on the city's homeless population, and many of his victims are coming back from the dead as vampires. So, Batman, Jim Gordon, and a group of rogue vampires who have turned against Dracula try to stop the Lord of the Vampires, and the story ultimately culminated in Batman becoming a vampire himself and defeating Count Dracula. So, the plot of Bloodstorm is it picks up where Red Rain left off. Batman is now a vampire and is desperately trying to fight the urge to drink blood, and he's drinking a blood substitute that is sustaining him, but it's quickly losing its effectiveness. And Batman is also trying to hunt down the last of Dracula's minions. Meanwhile, Batman's greatest adversary, the Joker, has taken command of a group of vampires and set them after these crime lords in Gotham City, turning them into vampires. So now the Joker is in control of the mob in Gotham City, as well as an army of the undead. In the story, we also follow a young woman named Selina Kyle, who in this continuity hasn't become Catwoman yet, but the way she becomes Catwoman in this story is she's attacked by a vampire who turns into a werewolf and bites her, but she survives, and she becomes not a vampire and not a werewolf, but a werecat, because cats are sort of like her spirit animal. So in this story, Catwoman is a literal cat creature, but she vows revenge against the vampire who did this to her, and eventually she meets Batman, and the two of them develop kind of a romantic relationship, and now they're trying to stop the Joker and destroy these vampires once and for all. So, I've read the entire Batman Dracula trilogy before, but upon this reread, I honestly think Bloodstorm is better than Red Rain. Red Rain was a solid crossover story, but Bloodstorm, which deals with the aftermath of Red Rain, really presents just how horrible it would be to become a vampire. In the story, the need for blood could almost be looked at as a metaphor for drug addiction, and we see just how torturous it is for Batman to fight the urge to drink blood. This urge, this need, is something that is slowly consuming him, and even though this is an Elseworlds story, so this is technically not the Batman that we know, it is still a version of Batman, and it's almost heartbreaking to see this hero reduced to this. This is a side to Batman we've never really seen before. We see a Batman that is driven to the point of desperation. He is desperate to find something, anything that could quench his thirst for blood without actually committing the act of drinking blood. That is the true horror of this story, the horror of addiction, and how addiction can change a person. It just uses vampires as sort of a metaphor or an allegory for that. Also, the Joker in this story is fucking terrifying. He's scarier than the vampires. This might actually be one of the scariest depictions of the Joker I've seen in comics. And I really like how Kelley Jones draws him. It's so freaking creepy. There's also a really creepy scene in this where the Joker kills a priest in a confessional, which reminded me a lot of a scene from The Exorcist 3, where a priest is killed by a demon-possessed woman, and I'm wondering if Moench might have taken some inspiration from that scene from Exorcist 3. The comic's not perfect. The romance between Batman and Selina Kyle feels a little trite, but it's to be expected given the relationship between these two characters in the mainstream Batman comics, but it is a little cheesy that it's the love of a woman that keeps Batman's addiction to blood at bay. I did like how this version of Selina Kyle was not some criminal or cat burglar. She was an innocent woman who was changed against her will into something that she barely understands. Lastly, Kelley Jones's artwork in this is really well done. Like I said, I love how he draws the Joker. I also really like the big cathedral ears on Batman, which really fits this version of the character. Now, Doug mentioned Kelley Jones followed this up with Batman Crimson Mist, which concluded the Batman Dracula trilogy, and I'm going to review that one when I do these Batman reviews next year, because this is sort of a yearly thing. But that was my review of Batman Bloodstorm by Doug Moench and Kelley Jones, and bye.